Hello world and welcome to Learning Java, one byte at a time. This is video 46 in a tutorial series geared at bringing the wonderful wide world of Java to those with little or no programming experience. This video is a continuation of the development of the Bookr application, a vehicle appraisal app. In the last video, we began the construction of our controller class for our MVC design pattern, the model view controller. We defined a couple of the action event listener methods that we were going to need for the new button and the save button. And in this one, we're going to go ahead and finish off that class by making the load button, the generate add button, and then finally the new button. So if we jump right in here to Notepad++, we can jump back to work. You'll see we're going to leave off where we did in the last video. We have finished the action listener for the save button. We're going to jump in here and start the one for the load button. So the load button is going to be a lot like the save button. It's going to make use of the JFile chooser, except instead of packaging all of the data that we're going to use getters for the view object to get from the fields and sending those to the data access object, we're going to pretty much do that in reverse. And so outside of this method, but still within this class, we're going to define another inner class that we'll call vehicle load listener. And this is the listener that we passed through to the instance of the view.vehicle load button listener that we accessed. And this one is, like the others, going to implement the action listener. And as you probably remember, since it's implementing this interface has one method and only one method that needs to be overridden, and that is the method called action performed. And this action performed method is going to be expecting an action event that we'll just call E. So in this load listener, just like in the save listener, we're going to need to instantiate a JFile chooser object that we'll call, in this case, load file chooser. And we'll set that equal to a new instance of a JFile chooser. And the JFile chooser, whenever instantiated, is going to expect one argument, and that argument is going to be the location, whichever folder you're going to have the user be opened up into. So in this case, I'm going to leave it blank because we're going to go back in and fill that in later during the testing. The file location of your choice, so anything will work there. It's probably going to be a good idea to keep the save file and the load file to be the same file, so wherever you're going to have one, you should probably have the other. And then we're going to, like in the other one, define an integer that we're going to call the R value, and we're going to set it equal to the JFile chooser dot show open dialog, and attach that to a view. And now if this R value is equal to JFile chooser dot approve option, so if in fact that load was successful, if it was not canceled, we're going to do something, and then we can actually define the else in the else statement that it was canceled. We're simply going to have the display alert called, and it's going to access the load file chooser, get selected file, get name, and we're going to let the user know that this one has no data, like so. Now in the case that everything goes well, if in fact it was approved, then we can define our array list, and this array list is going to be of type string because that's what we're going to be expecting back from the data access object. And this array list of strings we're going to call vehicle properties, and so whatever comes back from that data access object we're going to splice, we're going to parse, and we're going to assign those to the fields in the view object using the setter methods. So this is going to be set equal to a reference to the data access object and its method called load data, and it's going to be expecting a file name. So let's go ahead and use the load file chooser object dot get selected file dot get name, like so, to provide it with the file name that it's going to be looking for. And in this case, we're not going to actually use the get name. We're going to use the get absolute path because that's going to provide the name and the entire path in the case that the loader or the saver are going to be in different folders than the project is going to be. So we'll do get absolute path, and that'll include the name as well. And so now that we've instantiated and assigned our array list, that data access object should in fact call its load method. It's going to take that file name and it's going to return everything. If you remember, the data access object returns string arrays. Return it to this array that we've called vehicle properties. And so now, assuming that worked correctly, our vehicle properties should be loaded with that saved vehicle's properties. So now, let's check to make sure that the vehicle properties is not empty. So we use the bang and say vehicle properties is not empty. And in the case that it's not empty, which it shouldn't be, we will then go through every single view object and assign it using its setters in order the properties of that vehicle. So we'll go view dot set vehicle name. It's going to be equal to vehicle properties dot get 0, and we know that the index of these are going to be correct. They're going to be saved and loaded in the same order, so we can just basically go through the indexes of this array list in order. So we know that the name is going to be in 0, the make will be in 1, the model in 2, so on and so forth. So we'll do set vehicle make, and that's going to be the vehicle properties, and we're going to get whatever's in location 1. Set vehicle model, vehicle properties, dot get 2, and we'll do view dot set vehicle base cost. And in this case, we're going to need to go ahead and convert that string to a double. So we're going to use the double parse double method of the double object and pass through the string, which is going to be found at the vehicle properties index location 4, and that'll properly parse that to a double. Make sure we have all of our parentheses closed off there. Then we're going to set the vehicle year, and this one is going to be an integer. So we're going to use the integer object to parse the string coming back using the parse int, and that's going to be the vehicle properties dot get 5. Like so. Make sure that I have all of those. Nope, it's going to be actually, I am one number ahead. So it's going to be 3 is going to be the vehicle base cost, and 4 is going to be the parse int for the vehicle year. After that, we're going to do view dot set vehicle transmission, and that's going to be found under the vehicle properties dot get 5. Then we'll do view dot set vehicle drive, and that's going to be vehicle properties get 6. Next we'll do view dot set vehicle airbags, and this we're going to need to convert to a Boolean value because this is going to be a checkbox. So we're going to use the Boolean object, and we're going to parse Boolean, and whatever the value of that string is, which should be either true or false, vehicle properties dot get 7. Likewise, we'll do the vehicle ABS, and this is also a Boolean, so we're going to use the Boolean object to parse that as a Boolean, and that's going to be whatever string is returned from the vehicle properties array at location 8. Close off all of those parentheses correctly. Then we're going to do view dot set vehicle rear view camera, and this one is also a Boolean, so we're going to use the Boolean object to parse it, and it is going to be whatever is located in the vehicle properties array at location 9. Close off all of those parentheses. Next we'll do vehicle.set vehicle grade, if I can spell that right, and the vehicle grade is going to be the next one in the properties array. It's going to be properties.get10. And then we'll do view.set vehicle mileage, I think is next. And this is going to be an integer, so we'll need to parse that wherever the vehicle properties dot get 11 is going to return. Next, we're going to take the view and set the vehicle previous owners. And that's going to be an integer, so we're going to return whatever integer parse int gives us from the string at the vehicle properties location of 12. Next is going to be the view.set vehicle keyless entry. This is a Boolean. And it is located in index 13, like so. And after the keyless entry, I believe it is going to be premium sound. So view.set vehicle premium sound. And that Boolean will be parsed. And it's located in the properties array at position 14. Next, we're going to set the vehicle GPS navigation. Boolean.parse Boolean. Vehicle properties dot get 15. All right. Next, we're going to set the class. And that's going to be a vehicle set vehicle class. And that's going to be the vehicle properties dot get 16. And these are all in the same order that we've saved them in, so they should all be loading in the same order. Next, we're going to do view.set vehicle accident history. This is going to be a Boolean. And we're just going to pass through the next index, vehicle properties dot get 17. Then view.set vehicle commission rate. And this is going to be a double value because it's a decimal. So we're going to use the double object. We're going to parse double of the vehicle properties in location 18. And then finally, since we're loading a new vehicle, let's make sure that we take the advertisement pane, the window that has the advertisement, in case there was a previous one there. And let's go ahead and make sure that we set all of that content to an empty text. So we'll take the set vehicle advertisement, and we'll just set it to an empty text to make sure that we don't have any remnant advertisements hanging out there. Nothing lingering. And that's going to be everything in that if blocks. In that if blocks, and we already determined that in the case that it wasn't going to be the case, that we were going to have a display alert that said that there was no data there. And in the case, let me make sure I have all my parentheses right here. Feels like I'm missing something. That's right. Okay. This closes off that if block like so. And then in the case that the user did not select a file, that there was no approve option for the JF file selector, we'll go ahead and use the dialog. Or rather, we're going to use an if block here. So if our value equals jFileChooser dot cancel option. In that case, we're going to display an alert that just lets the user know that we understand that the load was canceled, like so. All right, that looks pretty good. I just want to make sure that I have all of my brackets here correct. That's going to be part of the if, that's going to be part of the else, that's going to be part of the if. This if block comes down here. And then we close out the class with this bracket, like so. That closes out the class. And so now our load listener class is all finished. So next we can begin to work on the generate add listener. So let's start another anonymous class, or another inner class rather. We'll call this vehicle generate add listener. It implements the action listener, and as such must override the action performed method, which expects an action event that we'll call E. And in the case that the generate add button was called, we're going to need to perform a couple of activities here. So we're going to need to basically set everything. We're going to need to define our own local instances of all of the vehicle properties and assign them all null values or false or 0 or empty string values. And then we're going to use a try block to try to set the Blue Book object equal to all of those properties. And so kind of taking this one step at a time here. In the code block, whenever this action is performed, let's first define a string called vehicle name, vehicle make, and vehicle model, and set all of those equal to empty strings. Define a double called vehicle base cost, and set that equal to 0. Define an integer called vehicle year, set that equal to 0. Let's do a string called vehicle transmission and vehicle drive, and set both of those equal to empty text. We'll do a couple of booleans called vehicle airbags, vehicle ABS, vehicle rear view camera, and we'll set all of those equal to false. A string we'll call vehicle grade equal to an empty text. Int called vehicle mileage, and vehicle previous owners, and set that equal to 0. Some more booleans for the luxury features: vehicle keyless entry, vehicle premium sound, and vehicle GPS navigation, and we'll set all three of those equal to false. We'll do a string called, if I can type, vehicle class, and we'll set that equal to empty string. A boolean for vehicle accident history, we'll set to false, and then a double that we'll call vehicle commission, and we'll set that equal to 0.0. So now we have local instances or local fields for all of the properties of the vehicle. So now let's do a try block. What we need to do is we need to try to access all of those properties from the view object using the view getter methods and assign them to our local values, our local variables. So let's try to assign to vehicle name whatever the view.getVehicleName will return. Vehicle make will be view.getVehicleMake. Vehicle model will be whatever getVehicleModel returns. Vehicle year, rather vehicle base cost if we're going to do it in order. Like so. Vehicle year will be our view.getVehicleYear. Vehicle transmission. Then the vehicle drive, if I could spell right. Thank God for the code completion. Vehicle drive will be set to equal the view.getVehicleDrive. Let me scroll down here to make this a little more visible. Vehicle airbags, like so. The vehicle ABS is going to equal the view.get vehicle ABS. The vehicle rear view camera is going to be equal to whatever the view.get vehicle rear view camera returns. And the vehicle grade will equal view.get vehicle grade. The vehicle mileage will be view.get vehicle mileage. Vehicle mileage, like so. And then we'll do previous owners. Let me scroll down just a little more here to make this a little more visible. And then we'll do keyless entry. Set that equal to view.get vehicle keyless entry. Next is the premium sound. And then we have the GPS navigation. Then we have the class. Then we have the accident history. And then finally we have the commission. Like so. And so now we've snagged from the view all of whatever was in those view objects and assigned them to our local variables of the same name. Now that we have those instances of all of those properties, if you remember in the beginning of this class, we assigned it a vehicle field. So now inside of this try block, let's go ahead and attempt to create a vehicle object by calling the vehicle field and setting it equal to a new instance of a vehicle object. And we're going to pass through all of those values that we got. Vehicle name, vehicle make, vehicle model, vehicle base cost, vehicle year, vehicle transmission, vehicle drive, vehicle airbags, vehicle ABS, and vehicle rear view camera, vehicle grade, vehicle mileage, vehicle previous owners, vehicle keyless entry, vehicle premium sound, vehicle GPS, vehicle class, vehicle accident history, and vehicle commission. And now that we have all of those being passed through, that should return to us a new instance of a vehicle object that matches exactly what we have in all of those view items on our view. And then we can then access our model. Now the model class has not yet been constructed, but that's okay. So still inside of this try block, let's then attempt to take this vehicle object. We're going to make a call to our model, an instance of the model which has not been defined yet, and we're going to ask it to use its method generate vehicle Bookr, and this is only going to need to have a vehicle object pass through, and that's the vehicle object that we've just created. Next we're going to make a call to our view object, and we're going to set vehicle advertisement, and that's going to be the text field that the advertisement displays in, and we're going to pass through a call to our model get vehicle advertisement, content, which is going to use the vehicle that we passed to it, and then use the blue book to generate the ad, and then return that ad, which we are then going to set to the text field in our view. Now, let's assume that everything went right, but in the case that it didn't, after this try block, we're going to use a catch block. We're going to catch the exception that we'll just call E. Could be a lot of things that go wrong, and we will just do a print to the stack trace so we can debug it later. And we'll also display an alert to the user. Something went wrong. And that takes care of that catch. This bracket closes out our action performed method that we're overriding, and this bracket closes out the class. Okay, so now there's just one more that we need to make, and this one's actually the smallest one. This is going to be the one that happens whenever they click the new button. So if I'm not mistaken, we have the previous owner's checkbox, we have the save, we have the load, we have the generate, and now let's do our new button. So whenever the user clicks the new button, this is going to be fairly easy. We'll define an inner class. We'll call it vehicle new listener, like we passed through. It implements action listener, and as such, it has a mandatory method that needs to be overridden, which is the action performed method, which expects an action event that we'll call E. And whenever that action is performed, we're going to make a call to our view object and just ask it to clear the project. This was a method that we had created in the view object that, if you remember, just goes through every single view object and sets it either equal to empty text or false or unclicked or unchecked or any of that. So it essentially just goes through the entire view object and resets everything. And that is all we need for that. And so I believe this is everything that we need for the controller. These last two videos were incredibly long, and this was a lot to take in. And I know it was very confusing, especially if you're new to action event listeners and new to the MVC design pattern. In the next video, we'll make a test case to make sure that the controller is working properly. Otherwise, until then, have a wonderful night, and I'll see you back soon. Thank you so much.